Welcome into the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me here on a Monday afternoon. We have lots of things to get into today. I want to open up the phones because Monday is our reaction to the weekend. Lots of things to react to this weekend. So we could start with the Clemson football team looking like hot dog water on offense. We can go with, Arkansas. By the way, we went to the bookcase of accountability and the SEC Media Days. Arkansas was picked to finish next to last in the division. Yeah, shows you how much us media folks actually know. Arkansas has they're ranked fourth in the country now, and they're staring down and getting ready to play a Georgia team that's probably going to beat them senseless, but no one really thought that Arkansas was going to go 4-0. So there's that. Anyway, we got that to react to. We've got South Carolina and Kentucky. Kentucky fans, man, they're running around with, hey, we're 4-0. Anybody predict Kentucky to be 4-0 right about now? Unless you are a Kentucky fan? Yeah. That wasn't really, maybe not have been there in the mix for some folks. You had Mizzou go on the road and lose to Boston College. Boston College is 4-0. Ladies and gentlemen, Wake Forest is 4-0. And Clemson sits at 2-2. And there are lots of fans that are upset after the performance over the weekend against North Carolina State. I want to give you the opportunity, if you want, to call into the program, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. You can also respond on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. The big thing, though, that Clemson offense is not very good. Not very good at all. When you look at the numbers, Uiagalelei hasn't thrown for more than, I think, 178 yards in a game. And I'm not laying everything at his feet, but it makes you start to think a little bit of how spoiled Clemson was with the quarterbacks that they had. 803-978-1832. People already lining up. Let's go out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, how's it doing, Rob?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
First of all, Clemson is a below average football team.
Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. How the hell did you figure that out?
Well, they always have been, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, then you haven't been watching the national titles that they've been winning while your Florida Gators have been in the dumpster.
You know why, Rob? Because they're playing the ACC.
Oh, you think that they don't give national championships to the ACC? Why don't you go and ask Alabama when they beat them by 4 touchdowns about that? So, when's the last time Florida beat Alabama by 4 touchdowns?
Rob.
Yeah,
seems like the other Part 1 team in the ACC is now catching up to the Clemson Titans.
Well, that might be a fair statement with Boston College and Wake both being 4-0. So you're right about that.
Yep, Part 1 team. Part 1.
Pop Warner. Okay. What else you got for the show, buddy?
And I want you to let Big and Megan know the Georgia Bulldogs are not all that, and they will go down against the Florida Gators. We will beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Okay.
I'm sure Big and Megan is listening, and I'm sure that he is chuckling to himself.
Overrated. You can beat them. Just throw the ball over the top, and you got them.
Well, if that's the case, sir, then why isn't anybody else throwing the ball over the top to beat them?
They can't do it. Clemson couldn't do it. They played Vanderbilt. Come on.
Okay. I mean, we'll have to see as the season goes on.
Just think that we'll find out this Saturday when they play Arkansas. We'll find out when they play Arkansas.
Well, are you gonna have a set and say Arkansas is gonna win?
No doubt.
So you got Arkansas beating them, and Florida's gonna beat them too.
Hey, no doubt.
Okay. Thanks, man.
No doubt.
Appreciate it, buddy. Florida fans calling up and spouting their Florida knowledge as they were happy with their win over Tennessee. I don't know if that's the way you beat the Georgia Bulldogs, is throwing over the top, but I think the Georgia secondary is too good for that. But I also think the Georgia defensive line is going to keep you from getting to a point where you can flip the ball over the top. But we'll see. I also don't know if Arkansas is as great as everybody says that they are, but we'll find out this weekend. If Arkansas hangs with Georgia and loses, I think they'll get a little more respect from folks because let's be honest, is anybody really buying Texas A&M? Just a thought. 803-978-1832. It's Reaction Monday here on the Rundown. Getting back to, and what he did say that made a lot of sense is that Clemson is a subpar football team right now. You're exactly right. NC State, if you look at it just from the stat line, they dominated the game. So there's that. If you want to talk about the Clemson offense, there are folks that have told me, well, if you look at the way the plays are called, it's run first, hash mark, punt. Okay. I mean, there's lots of things that you can break down about the Clemson offense. They most likely will not have Will Shipley this weekend. He suffered a knee injury, supposedly going to be out, 3 to 4 weeks, I think is what Coach Sweeney said in his press conference last night. The bigger injury, though, is Bryan Bresee, who is out for the year with a torn ACL. So with that, Clemson's 2 starting defensive tackles, who were all-world defensive tackles, in Tyler Davis and Bryan Bresee, are both out. That's going to affect the Clemson defense just a little bit. But you got to roll with what you got. Injuries are part of the game. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's just the way that it is. 803-978-1832. The Clemson offense, as I said, they're going to roll with probably Kobe Pace at running back to start with. Darian Rencher will probably get some carries. We'll see how it goes from there. We also have to talk about South Carolina and Kentucky. Gamecock offense looked at times just looked like they were just lost. Now, granted, I know it's the first year under Shane Beamer, but the reality is that simple plays, it seemed like they had issues with. The fourth down play in the fourth quarter, I didn't understand. The ball that was being thrown to Dakereon Joyner, it looks like they were trying to run a bit of a rub play, and the receiver that was supposed to rubbed the wrong direction. I didn't know where he was supposed to be, which threw off the timing of the play. Also, I said this on our fifth quarter postgame show on our sister station, 103.5 FM WVOC. There are very few things in life that are absolutely something you can be assured of. Death, taxes, and a Kentucky running back running for 100 yards against South Carolina, as Chris Rodriguez went for 144 yards on 26 carries. Now, if I am a South Carolina fan, I'm thinking to myself, Kevin Harris is a better running back than Chris Rodriguez. The stats kind of show that he is. Why isn't Kevin Harris getting 26 carries to see if he can wear out a defense into the fourth quarter? Just a thought. Also, one other thing I question about Saturday's game, Shane Beamer had 4th and 3, and you're down 6 points, and there's 3 minutes to go. You're off. Your defense is wore out because they've carried you the whole game, and you don't go for it, even though you went for it before. Instead of kicking field goals when that made the most sense. And it's easy to armchair quarterback from here, but as soon as that happened, the first thing that came to my head was the Gamecocks won't see the ball again. And they didn't. If you want to talk about that, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon. Florida fans are already calling, saying that Georgia's losing to Arkansas this weekend. File me under Missouri for that. The show me state. Show me you can beat Georgia before I have to start believing it. Same thing for Florida, too. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown, as we can talk about that. We'll also get into later on, can Tennessee make a bowl game? What they're going to have to do. What South Carolina is going to have to do if they want to make a bowl game. Because if you look at their next 3 games, you would think that they're winnable games. I'm not saying they're going to win them. Las Vegas has them as a 9-point favorite this weekend over Troy. But on paper, they should be in the mix. So we'll talk about some bowl game stuff here momentarily. We'll also look ahead to games this week. Man, there are some big games this week. Alabama and Ole Miss, which, by the way, game day's like, yeah, we don't want to go watch that game. We don't want to go there for that game. Nothing against what Arkansas and Georgia, where they're going to be, but if you've got Alabama and Ole Miss, wow. You've also got LSU playing Auburn, but Bo Nix has been benched. So the young man that was suiting up at quarterback for LSU last season, Finley, is going to get the start against LSU. Not very often do you get to do that. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you want to react to games from over the weekend. All right, so in addition to that, the other things we'll get into as we look ahead to next week, we're going to start working on that. Monday's like flush it out day. Get all that out of your system from what happened over the weekend. There are some assurities, though, from last weekend. The Clemson run at the college football playoff is over. I know some folks online were talking about, well, maybe they can win out. Look, they needed to focus just on beating Boston College before you focus on winning out. But the run of Clemson in the college football playoff is over. No 2-loss team has ever been in the college football playoff. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I really don't. But there's other things to be said, too. The Clemson running back room is really light right now. Of course, Lynn J. Dixon left for the transfer portal. Now Will Shipley is out. And all of a sudden, what looked like a strong team is looking kind of flat. Out to the phones we go. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. I was at the game Saturday up there in Raleigh. The offense looks like it just does not know where to start.
Right. That's a fair term.
I mean, and when you look back at some of the coaching decisions, you got Tyler Grisham, the wide receiver coach. You got C.J. Spiller, now the running back coach. When Jeff Scott left, I didn't think we would lose as much as we did, but it seems like we lost a pretty good little amount. Brad Scott left too. I know he wasn't a coach on the field, but he did give advice. Do you think that's something that Dabo's going to have to look at and say maybe he didn't make some of the right hires?
I think everything is on the table right now as far as that's concerned. What I can say is that the Clemson offense put up good numbers last year without Jeff Scott. But if you also go back and watch some of the games from last year, Trevor Lawrence was changing plays at the line on his own.
Yeah.
And, reading the defense for what they were giving him and then changing from whatever was put into the headset to him. So with that, you can make an argument that maybe Uiagalelei is counting on his coach there and just running what they tell him to run. And it's not working. So it could be that too.
Tony Elliott said the last play of the game was his call to throw a 20-yard fade to front of the end zone
And
on
you know, once
4th and
again,
5.
I'm not a college football coach, but I can look at trends. And my trend with this is Uiagalelei and the running backs were getting 4 and 5 yards a carry. I would have kept running the ball until NC State stopped it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you stop us running, then we'll throw. But until then, if I'm getting 5, I think it was in overtime, I think they averaged almost 5 yards a carry. I'm going to keep running it until you stop us, because I think that in the end, that probably would have worked out a little bit better for Clemson. But to be honest, they shouldn't have been in overtime anyway. Field goal kicker missed what, 3 field goals? That doesn't happen.
Well, you know, 2 of those field goals, we were there at the game, and he was short on 2 of those field goals. I mean, it wasn't going to make it if he hit it right down the middle.
Right.
That one, he
The
hooked.
one at the end of the game, though, was I mean, it was almost a chip shot. So
there was a big play that, you know, in the game that DJ was going to hit a pop pass to the tight end, and he just didn't wait for it to open up. We saw it from the stands. It was going to be a touchdown. I mean, Davis Allen was going to hit his head on, you know, the goalpost. And he rushed to throw. It got tipped, and they got picked off, and they were in scoring position again. And then overtime, they were going to run that same pop pass. It was covered. And he wound up, you know, getting rid of the ball because he was going to be sacked on that 3rd down play.
Right.
But it seems like they lost some brain power to figure. I mean, because we watched some of these routes. These wide receivers on the outsides were just running straight, you know, 15 yards, and they were, you know, heading out of bounds. There's nothing going on in the middle of the field. I don't think anybody that played in the slot caught a pass the other day. And every wide receiver, we watched them, all of them come out there, and they're all 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds, and you're like, you've got to get some quickness.
Well, missing Amari Rodgers, I think, is a big thing. And then, of course, Travis Etienne as well. You know, it was, I think, missing him. He was like the Swiss Army knife, and it just didn't work out. So,
yeah, because, you know, Travis could cover up some deficiencies in the offensive line by bouncing it outside. And Kobe Pace is going to hit it inside. It doesn't matter if it's clogged up. He's not going to bounce the ball. He's going to run it where he's told to run it.
Right.
And Shipley is too. I mean, he's just a freshman. He's going to run it where they say run it, and there's nothing there for him. And it seems like they're not. You know, there's no innovation in the offense. There's no way. There's no easy throws for DJ to make. Like, here's an easy little 7-yard throw that's going to get us, you know, going. There's none of that.
I think a lot of it comes back to, if you look at what NC State did, they did a lot of dropping eight guys, which is what Georgia Tech did. And that kind of threw, Sweeney talked about that last week of, hey, this kind of, we haven't seen that all year. They haven't done it. Maybe that's maybe that's the blueprint to really slowing down that Clemson offense is.
But when a team drops 8, you have to be able to run the ball. When they're going to drop 8 and say, we're not going to let you throw it, but you can run it, and they're still not running it. You know, I think that's got to get back to some coaching.
Shipley ran 11 times for 36 yards. Leading rusher was Uiagalelei, 9 carries for 63 yards.
Yeah, he had that big run there at the end.
Right, but overall, they weren't really committed to running the ball at all. Also, you've got to look at it from this perspective too. Generally, the Clemson offense is they want to run 100 plays. They didn't run 100 plays. They almost had 100 plays run on them.
Yeah. It was 96 plays, I think, NC State ran.
Something like that.
But you would think that the Clemson offense would kind of mirror their defense. Their defense is in your face, smashing you up, and their offense is not that. It's flash and dash and try to hit the big play, and we want our drives to end in 6 plays or less.
Well, that's
kind of they don't match.
The reason that the Clemson defense is in your face is because the defensive line wants to smack you in the mouth, whereas the offensive line for Clemson wants to. I don't want to. It's a bad term to use, but it's pretty boy pass blocking. Hey, let's not stand up there and be a massive guy and just knock somebody out of their shoes. Let's have great footwork and try to protect the pass. Try to protect for the, pass plays. I just, when you step back and look at it, it would be more interesting if Clemson would get a couple of maulers at guard Just somebody that's
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm just going to knock the defensive tackle in his teeth. They don't have
the
that.
person across the line across from you, I'm gonna beat him.
I'm going to knock him in his teeth, and they don't have that.
Yeah.
And until
don't
they
have it.
get that, the offense or that mentality that they've got guys that are big enough to do it. Let's
Oh, yeah.
not put that out there. But it's a
not,
change in
but
mindset.
that's
It's
not how they're being coached, though.
right. They're gonna. I mean, literally, if I were Coach Caldwell up there, I would just say point blank, here's what we're gonna do. If you were going to match up with this guy here, we're gonna run plays where we pull this way and that way. But your job is to knock that guy on his butt. If you can't do that, then I'm going to put somebody else in that can, and then go from there. Mold the offense from that. So because what they're doing right now is not working at all.
Well, we saw them, at the game putting Rayburn at the left guard and then putting Paul Tishu.
Right.
Trying to,
well, they're trying to do all kinds of combinations. It's just
but it's not just one position on the offensive line. It's the group.
Right. Well,
it just can't get it going together. And DJ, I noticed too that DJ in the shotgun, he doesn't drop back once he gets the ball.
Yeah. There's
he sort of gets the ball and he's there, and I watched, Oklahoma play, and when Spencer Rattler gets the ball, he's dropping back 3-4 steps.
Well, but he's confident that his left tackle is line. He's confident that his left tackle is not going to let the defensive lineman hit him in his ear hole. So there's a big difference there. So well, I mean the touchdown pass that Uiagalelei threw, which was a heck of a throw, by the way. He did that running out of the pocket because the pocket collapsed. So it comes back to the offensive line and the way the plays are called, where it's just vanilla. But we can break down that game forever. But the reality is that if Clemson doesn't get it together, they could go 8-4, 9-3 this season. I mean, you're like right now, if they were playing Wake Forest this weekend, if
Wake Forest would win that game,
Wake Forest would beat them senseless. Especially without the defensive linemen that are out. Wake Forest, I think, could come into Death Valley and win with literally just they could match up and they could win. So,
I think now they have 12 starters going to miss next week.
Yeah, well,
not starters, but 12 scholarship players are going to be on the shelf.
I appreciate you calling the program, man. I got to go to a break. Thank you so much. All right. Well, if you want to talk more about the Clemson matchup and how they look like they are the hot dog water team of the week here. If you watch that game, only way, it looked like hot dog water. That's basically the only term I can use. Quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, Clemson, you guys want to laugh? Clemson is a 15.5-point favorite over Boston College. Wow. I think that's a little far-fetched there, Steve. Clemson's got to play Louisville and Florida State. That's, I don't know you anything, Alan. You're out of your mind. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Zach, you're making a good point, man. They're not looking very good at all. But Eric, you gotta admit with Tennessee, the depth is an issue. So Aaron gets it. Mm-hmm. I wonder about the Ole Miss game. I wonder if they're going to be able to go in and have that offense against Alabama. We'll see. You know, with the Clemson game, as far as betting, I think the way Las Vegas is looking at this is that they think eventually they're going to snap out of it. I don't know. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. Shout out to the folks watching on the chat room today. You can join at the Fox Sports Radio Facebook page. The big thing, one stat I wanted to put out there: DJ Uiagalelei through 4 games this season has 586 yards. Last season, he was the backup quarterback for Clemson, and he threw for 914 yards. 2 of those being starts. The one matchup at Notre Dame was he threw for 300 plus yards in that game. Now, when you look at it from that perspective, as far as DJ Uiagalelei goes, the big thing with that is that I don't think that he went to bed one night and woke up and forgot how to be a quarterback. I don't think that happened. So you got to look at it from the perspective of maybe some of the guys that were there, including a couple of the offensive linemen that left, Travis Etienne, Amari Rogers. Maybe that's hindering him a little bit. But Las Vegas has Clemson as a 15.5-point favorite in this matchup this weekend over Boston College. I watched the majority of the Boston College-Mizzou game this weekend. Grosel, their quarterback, is pretty good. They do have a good running back, but they have a really good offensive line. Typical Boston College offensive line, by the way. They are a little suspect on defense, but I think that Las Vegas, when they look at this matchup and they think, you know what, Clemson's going to snap out of it eventually. That's what they're thinking, I would guess. But as of right now, has that Clemson offense done anything that makes you look at them and think, hey, they're a viable program right now on the offensive side of the ball? The defense, they're doing their job, but they're going to have a hiccup here shortly. When you lose the 2 all-world defensive tackles that you've lost, that's going to come back and bite you. Now, you got to run with what you've got. I know that Georgia fans got upset when I said, hey, injuries are part of the game, and they certainly are. They absolutely are. But can the Clemson defense continue to play at the level they're playing without those 2 guys? That's something we're going to have to see. 803-978-1832. One of the other interesting matchups this weekend is Kentucky and Florida. Florida is an 8-point favorite on the road at Kentucky. But, man, you got to admire the Bluegrass fans. Normally, they're excited about March Madness coming up. John Calipari with his group of freshly paid-for players heading into Rupp Arena to, slam dunk some basketballs on a fall night. Someone woke up the Kentucky fans. Wait a minute, we have a football team? What the hell happened here? I'm joking, as I hope you get. But we'll see. We'll see how that matchup goes, as I'm sure Kroger Field will be on fire. 60,000 fans all losing their mind. 803-978-1832. Quick break, and we come back. We'll have more for you here on the Rundown. What are the bowl projections now? Where's Clemson projected to go to a bowl? I'll give you that in a moment. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. You are right, sir. That doesn't change how they feel up there at Kentucky, though. Hey, did you guys see the banner I had on the bottom of the screen last night where I wrote what was it? Bluegrass sports squats to pee. I don't know why I put that up there. I just thought it was funny. He's all right. You're right, Eric. He's not a bad guy. Does anybody get up for basketball? I'm not sure with the YouTube crowd how you guys do with basketball. I love some basketball, so I know football is important. We're going to cover football until football's over. Edwin with a good point there. Well, trust me, we're going to do the majority of our stuff we do here is with college football. We do talk basketball, though, when the time arises. Oh, man. You know, I could find a theme song for Bluegrass Sports Media. I forgot. I got a special thing for Jackpot this week on Wednesday that I forgot to play. I normally play for Kentucky week. Tennessee folks, I got something for you on Tennessee week. Stand by for that. Dueling banjos. Yeah, okay, Eric. I got something just for you Tennessee fans. We'll play some snippets of that. Enough where I don't get in trouble on YouTube with it or on Facebook. But yeah, for some reason I have like 8 different songs that mock Tennessee, and I don't really have a problem with Tennessee. Yeah, just Tennessee, but still. For some reason it's going to look like I hate Tennessee. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Here's what we've got for you. Some bowl projections. These come from 247 Sports. Now, going into the season, it was, Clemson, Alabama, I think Ohio State, and Georgia. That was your top 4. Now, after we're, a third of the way through the season, here are the projected bowl matchups. In the CFP, number 2, Oregon, and number 3, Georgia. That's your one matchup. The other one is number 1, Alabama, number 4, Oklahoma. Let's see here. In the Peach Bowl, they've got Wake Forest and Notre Dame. And they actually write, why not Wake Forest as the projected ACC champion? It's too early to tell, but the Deacs control their own destiny with NC State, Clemson, and North Carolina left on the slate, among others. So why not? They've got them playing Notre Dame in a New Year's Six Bowl. That would be in the Orange Bowl. I'm sorry. Then you've got UCLA and Penn State in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State and Cincinnati, another one of your New Year's Six predictions there. And the Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma State and Arkansas. Excuse me, that would be the Sugar Bowl. Iowa and Ole Miss, another interesting matchup there. We'll see how that works out for them. And in the Gator Bowl, they've got Clemson playing Texas A&M. Here's what they wrote from 247 Sports about Clemson. Their streak of CFP appearances is all but over following their loss to NC State. Even if Sweeney's team wins out and takes their 7th consecutive ACC title, the league is weak this season and the selection committee would frown at the Tigers' schedule. Texas A&M is in a slightly better position in making a New Year's Six appearance, but the margin is slim after the Aggies setback against Arkansas. Both of these teams have major issues offensively that need to be corrected quickly, and quarterback play must improve. Let me give you a little bit of betting information before we get too silly here. If Texas A&M and Clemson play in a bowl game, take the under. There you go. You're welcome. Oh, man. The theme music for that game literally is right here. It's just, we have to watch these two teams play in a bowl game. This is going to ruin, we're all festive and happy during the holiday season. My wife's at home. She makes sausage balls and all that stuff, and it's all great. Yeah, we love it. But then you look at the bowl schedule, and Clemson's playing Texas A&M. Dabo Swinney versus Jimbo Fisher. Dabo Swinney telling the world, no one thought we would get where we are now after our 2 setbacks early in the season. But look at us. We're in the Gator Bowl. We're playing Texas A&M. Yeah. And then Jimbo Fisher's over there. Hey, if I lose this game, I'm going to get fired. All that money I spent on those really expensive cowboy hats and belt buckles is all going down the toilet. And I'm just sitting here with a lot of other folks looking around like, man, we got to watch this during the holiday season. This sucks. What a mess. Some other matchups. Armed Forces Bowl. Why don't they have a team from the Armed Forces in the Armed Forces Bowl? That should be literally, you should have Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever. And by the way, I'm all about, if you don't have 6 wins and you're a team that's from the service academy, the service academies go to a bowl game. We give everything else away. Why not give all service academies go to a bowl game? The NCAA sucks, but you know what? They could go a long way with a lot of folks if they would say, you know what? The service academies, if they'll accept it, we'll give them a bowl bid every year. You've got 34 bowl games that no one cares about. I assure you, I will sit down and watch Army, Navy, Air Force. I'll watch them play whenever. But the projection for the Armed Forces Bowl is Wyoming and West Virginia. Yeah, crickets. Other bowl matchups, NC State and Texas in the Cheez-It Bowl. I like the Cheez-It Bowl. I don't know why. Alamo Bowl, TCU and Oregon State. Boston College and Southern Cal in the Sun Bowl. Who the hell from Boston College is going to go out to the Sun Bowl? Yeah, we're going to go to the Sun Bowl in Tempe and watch BC play Southern Cal. North Carolina and Tulane in the Military Bowl. So you have the Armed Forces Bowl and the Military Bowl, but no projected team from there. No service academy. Minnesota and Baylor in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Let's see here. Michigan and LSU in the Music City Bowl. I think LSU fans would travel for that. They may be looking for a new coach by then if they're in the Music City Bowl. Iowa State and Kentucky in the Texas Bowl. Virginia and Auburn in the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl. My goodness. Also, Pitt and Utah in the Holiday Bowl. The Gasparilla Bowl, Houston and Miami. And let's see here. Rutgers and Virginia Tech in the Pinstripe Bowl. Yeah. Pinstripe Bowl. Wow. Here, the First Responder Bowl. SMU and Army. That's kind of cool. Blake says that Armed Forces Bowl fight from last year is still getting thousands of views a day. Yeah. Not really the look you want. Florida Atlantic and Liberty in the Cure Bowl. The New Orleans Bowl has Marshall and Louisiana. Let's see here. There was the first one was the Myrtle Beach Bowl, has Coastal Carolina playing someone. It's like they're putting Coastal in that bowl against Central Michigan. So with that bowl game will sell out with all the fans of the Mullets down there at with the Conway Bad Boys from Coastal, who may not lose a game this year, by the way. And they'll probably sell that bowl game out. Katusa Online says Miracle Whip is better. The Real MVP says, yeah, that's a home game for Coastal. Eric says he'd like to see Vandy versus FSU. I'm in the camp of here's what you do for a game like that. If you're going to have Vandy and FSU, the loser has to leave town, meaning you leave your conference, get out. Maybe not doing that to FSU, maybe Vanderbilt and Syracuse. That might make a little more sense. Aaron says he's more of a Hellman's man. Yeah. I tell you what, man, that's a fighting thing around some houses. If you make a sandwich and you put Miracle Whip on it, where I live, we're looking at you like you hate us. Mayonnaise, for goodness sake. K-Dog loves the Duke's mayonnaise. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will evaluate where South Carolina is and their projections for a bowl game and some other teams. Is Tennessee, do they have the schedule where they can make a bowl game? We'll look at that as well. You can follow the show on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. By the way, I did tweet out something that someone else tweeted. It was like a Kentucky player running to the sideline, and literally once he gets to the sideline, he just goes and just knocks one of the Kentucky staff, just knocks him over, just being a doofus. Go and check that out. It's on my Twitter page at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast for the show is up at 5:00 today. If you want to hear what the Florida fans said about Georgia losing to Arkansas and Florida, you can hear that on the podcast up at about 5:00. More of the rundown in just a moment. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, Caden, you might be right. Normally you say a lot of silly things, but you might be right about that. I'll pin that comment for a minute. I see Alabama fans here, like Sunday morning, right? Sunday morning, I get up and I go to Kroger right up the street from my house, and I'll get I make breakfast for my girls. It's just something that I do. And I always have to go and get something. I go up there, and every Sunday I will see an Alabama fan with an Alabama hat on. Now, granted, I live like right in the heart of Columbia. Okay. My house is like 15 minutes from Williams-Brice Stadium, 15 minutes from campus, the whole 9 yards. And I won't see very many Gamecock stuff there on my little Sunday trips out, but I will see Alabama stuff. You see some Clemson stuff, Alabama stuff, sometimes some Tennessee stuff. The Real MVP agrees with Caden. Okay. Auburn fans are right there too. Look at Caden. When you actually put out something valid there, Caden, everybody loves you. I can tell you this, like, when I was much younger, my girlfriend went to Arkansas, and I actually got to go to an Arkansas game in Fayetteville. It was actually a pretty cool experience. We did the whole thing where you walk through the fraternity lots and all that, and it was pretty cool. It was back like in the Houston Nutt days, if I remember correctly. I think Houston Nutt was there. I think Tennille's got a point. Got no issues with Caden. Caden's all right. He's just passionate. We'll give him that. Good point, Colby. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Joining us this week on the program, AJ Black from SI. He covers Boston College. We'll get his opinion on what Boston College thinks about their matchup coming into Death Valley this weekend. If you remember, last season, they came into Death Valley right there near Election Day, and they almost handed it to Clemson. Trevor Lawrence had COVID. Uiagalelei threw for like 300-plus yards, and Clemson ended up holding on. They were down in that game. And the reality is that that Clemson offense came too. Look, Coach Hafley and his guys, you get the vibe when you we got to interview Coach Hafley at ACC kickoff. The vibe I get from him is he's not scared of nothing. And he puts his team on with that too. They don't care who they're squaring off with. They're going to do what they can. Now, South to win. Their offensive line is tough. They've got, I think it's super seniors, I think is what they're calling them now, guys that have been in the program for a long, long time. Yeah, because of COVID and everything else. They've got that offensive line at BC. And they can push you around up front. So the 15.5-point line for Clemson and Boston College, just by looking at the offense from last week and the fact that Boston College has a great offensive line, makes you think, this could be a problem. I don't see how, Vegas obviously knows something that we don't. We'll see how that works out. One of the other interesting lines, I think it's 17.5 points for Alabama and Ole Miss. I don't think Alabama's winning by 17.5 over Ole Miss. I have to do my research a little bit. We'll see how that goes. Edwin says this may be the year Georgia gets over the hump, but until it's done on the regular basis, the road still goes through Tuscaloosa. He may be right. By the way, I interact with a good bit of LSU fans, and they went into Mississippi State this weekend and got a win. Tough win down there, by the way. But they don't seem to be on fire about this team. Someone actually said it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't win another conference game. I don't know the rest of their conference schedule. I'd have to look at it. He may have been goofing with me. If they have Vanderbilt on that schedule, I'm laughing. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, I mentioned about Tennessee. We'll look at South Carolina in a moment. Can Tennessee go to a bowl game this year? They play Alabama and Georgia. I think teams are going to lose by 17 or more too. But they've got road games against Mizzou this weekend and Kentucky. And then home contest against South Carolina and Ole Miss. So we'll see how that works out for them. I mean, that's I don't think the Ole Miss game is there. South Carolina, I think, has a realistic chance, but we'll see on that front. Kentucky right now is 4-0. We'll see how that works out too. I don't know if they have a shot or not to go to a bowl, but winning at Mizzou this weekend definitely has to be in the mix. The Mizzou defense is not very good. Not very good at all. So, and their offense, by the way, they have some players that can do some things. Connor Bazelak is a pretty good quarterback. Beatty, their running back, is really good too, especially getting to the edge, catching balls out of the backfield, things like that. They can put up points. If Tennessee goes in there this weekend and wins in Como, I think that puts a big dent into their hopes for a bowl game. For South Carolina, they've got Texas A&M I got to look at the rest of their schedule. I know they've got Troy this weekend, and let me give you the rest of it. I know Troy comes to town this weekend. After that, make sure we give you everything here. That way I'm not looking silly. I know it's Troy, and then after Troy, they go to Tennessee, followed by a home matchup with Vanderbilt, and then they play at Texas A&M before the bye week. Halloween is off. Then they go home matchup with Florida, on the road at Mizzou, home matchup with Auburn, home matchup with Clemson. You know, obviously, when you look at the Gamecocks, I think they're going to be favored against Troy and Tennessee, Troy and Vanderbilt. The Tennessee game is probably a toss-up. They go 2-1 there. That puts them at 4-3. Lord only knows what happens with Texas A&M. They have not beaten them yet. So, and what's Auburn going to be? I mean, they benched Bo Nix. They didn't look really good against Georgia State. But he did look okay against Penn State. I don't know. They fired their wide receiver coach down there. Like, how does that happen in the middle of a season? You're going to fire your coach in the middle of the season? Probably something we don't know about. Eric says, yes, Tennessee's got to beat Mizzou this weekend first. There's a lot of teams that this weekend is like pressure weekend. Clemson needs to win over Boston College and have the offense look somewhat decent. South Carolina's got to win over Troy. Keep their hopes for a bowl game alive. Tennessee's got to go to Mizzou. And by the way, if Mizzou doesn't win, I don't know if they're going to a bowl game. That could be like a knockout game for both teams. Eric says beatable games for Tennessee are Mizzou, Kentucky, South Carolina, South Alabama, Vanderbilt. That's 4, and they've won 2 already. Okay. Going on the road to Como, though, we'll see what happens. Kentucky, you know, watching the full game this weekend and talking to some folks, they don't impress me that much. Out of the phones quickly. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, well, how you doing?
Hey, man, I've only got about a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, well, I think Soccer Club says they got to change something up this weekend, man.
You're right about that, buddy.
Yep.
All right, man.
Well, that's how I say.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You have a good day.
All right, buddy. 803-978-1832. About out of time. We'll see how some of those matchups look this weekend. We'll also have AJ Black on to preview Boston College, working on getting someone to preview the Troy matchup, and several other little things that we'll have in the mix here as we roll along on the rundown this week. Obviously, tomorrow we'll have comments from Coach Sweeney and Coach Beamer as they get set for their matchups this week. And whatever else comes our way, we'll definitely be working on that. All right. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Lawton Swan, by the way, is up next with Clemson Sports Talk.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Yes, gotta love the Swan. He'll have the full breakdown on this game. And by the way, Lawton said something very interesting on Twitter the other night that if you follow him at Clemson Sports, I didn't tweet back at him because I was like, huh? But Lawton said, and I'll give you the full tweet here before we go. The tweet was... I want to make sure that I give you the exact right tweet because I don't want to mistweet the Swan here, as he's got obviously a ton of content up at Clemson Sports. But it basically, I'll say this: if things don't improve soon, there are several more losses on the front for the Clemson this season, maybe even in Williams-Brice. That should tell you how bad the offense is looking right now. It's the worst I've seen. And that would include 2010. I'd go back further. Check out Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan. He is up next. Podcast for the show will be up at 5:00. My name is Rob Sanders. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Thank you guys for joining the show. We'll be back at it tomorrow on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Jerome, what's up? Appreciate you guys. By the way, what Lawton's saying makes a lot of sense. Clemson's not going to beat anyone if Uiagalelei can't break 150 yards passing. They don't have the running backs to do it. They don't have the offensive line to do it. So Gamecock fans that are like, hey, do we have a chance? Yeah, if you can hold Uiagalelei to 150 yards passing, you've got a chance. I went back and rewatched that game. They are so bad. Just terrible. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all, man. We'll see you later on.